The DJI Mic Mini officially just pissed me off. This is the DJI Mic Mini, but just how mini is it? Here it is next to my car, here it is next to me, here it is next to my banana, here it is next to a US quarter, and here it is next to a grain of salt. Okay, that's less impressive. It is super light though. At only 10 grams, it's almost a third of the weight of the DJI Mic 2, and you can tell. It feels much more comfortable clipped onto my shirt, and it doesn't really drag the clothing down a whole lot. Honestly, it's almost easy to forget that this thing is even here because just like the Mic 2, you can use a little magnet to attach it in places that are a lot more comfortable than like up on your collar. I will say, even though it's tiny, I wouldn't exactly call this discreet. Most people are gonna see this and be like, what is on your shirt? Especially since there's this like big obnoxious DJI logo on it. If you're outside, you're also definitely gonna wanna use the fluffy windscreen, which is very soft and fluffy, but you're not gonna be able to hide that very well. Unlike the DJI Mic 2, there's no way to plug in a more discreet little lav mic, so I wouldn't say that you're really gonna be able to use this for any sort of professional productions where you want the lav mic to be invisible. But for creators, I mean, this is totally fine. Nobody really cares that they can see your microphone. This device really was designed for video creators because there's no internal recording, so you're gonna have to hook it up to your camera or your phone if you want to use it. You can plug the receiver into your camera using a cable, or you can plug it directly into your phone using the phone adapter. Then when you pull the transmitters out of the case, they'll automatically connect and be ready to record once you hit record on your video device. Well, I messed up. I did not read properly, and this mic did not come with a lightning adapter. That's USB-C. I need lightning for my iPhone. So I have no way to plug the receiver into my phone, and the adapter also costs $20, and it wouldn't arrive until Friday. So we are just going to have to imagine. Thankfully, I'm not completely out of luck because you can go without the receiver entirely and just connect the transmitter to your phone using Bluetooth. The only issue with this is you have to use a third-party camera app like the Blackmagic camera app instead of your built-in phone's camera. It's not a huge deal, but it's something worth mentioning. The case is small and light. It's kind of on the larger end of pocketable. It does close when you have windscreens on the transmitters, which is cool, but unfortunately there's no space to store the other cables in this charging case, so you'll have to keep those in your bag or the little carrying pouch that they included here. As for battery life, it's really impressive on such a small device. With these, you'll get about 11 hours of operating time, and then the charging case will give you another 3.5 full charges. There's also a couple ways to save battery. You can set the transmitter and the receiver to automatically power off when they haven't been used in a little while, and the transmitter will go to sleep if it doesn't receive a signal from the receiver. This is super helpful because, like I said before, when you're out and about vlogging, you could totally forget that you're wearing this thing because it is so light, and if you're not shooting during that time, you don't want the battery to be draining for all that time. That said, if the battery does somehow die on you while you're out and about, you can just throw the mic back into the charging case for 5 minutes, and it'll give you an hour of recording time worth of charge. So you can just take 5 and be back to shooting like nothing ever happened. Now that's just the technical stuff. I also put these mics through some tests to see how they hold up audio quality wise versus some more professional options. That said, the strength of these mics is convenience. They want to make content creation as easy as possible for you, and your post-production process can be just as easy with today's video sponsor, Artlist. Artlist has become more than just a library of amazing sound effects and music. They have a whole new tools category that aims to make your video editing process faster and more streamlined than ever with the use of AI. With their Premiere Pro extension, you can now access music, sound effects, AI voiceover, and coming soon, footage libraries without ever leaving your editing software. You can simply drag and drop the assets directly onto your timeline. They also just introduced an AI editing assistant that can remove all of the silences in your clip with a single click and add dynamic zooms to your footage like this to make it even more engaging. You can choose from a bunch of different options to make the zoom effect match the style of your content. If special effects are more your thing, Artlist has made those easy too, with a bunch of professional effect plugins that are compatible with Adobe, Final Cut Pro, and DaVinci Resolve. I've got a link down in the description that will give you 2 2 free months added onto your subscription. If you're interested in trying it out, I highly recommend you do. It's awesome, the things that they're innovating with today. Thank you, Artlist, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get to the audio test. Now, I'm not sure how these things are gonna sound, but I wanna compare the Mic Mini to the Rode Wireless Pro because these things, in my opinion, are the audio quality champion right now, and they're also about twice as expensive as the Mic Minis. So we'll see whether they sound twice as good. This is an audio comparison between the DJI Mic Mini and the Rode Wireless Pro, held up to my face in that way that everybody gets annoyed at me for doing, but it's the best way to get good audio out of these microphones, and it gets me a lot of clicks, so I like to do it. Let me know in the comments, which one do you think sounds better? Can you even tell a difference? I don't know. I haven't checked it out in my editing software yet. Stay tuned for that. Now we're testing what they sound like when they're clipped onto my shirt, and obviously the Rode is way bigger and way heavier, and it doesn't really do super well in this sort of situation. The DJI is totally rocking it. It's tiny. It's not dragging my shirt down at all. So let me know which one you think sounds better down here. Is there really much of a difference? Yeah, there is. The audio test didn't really surprise me. The Rode sounds a lot more full and natural, where the DJI, it seems to hold on to more of those high ends. You don't get as much of the depth of the Rode. So the DJI tends to sound crunchier because they emphasize clarity over fidelity. I don't think it sounds bad necessarily, but it is different, and I'm curious about what you think. Let me know in the comments. Next, I tested something that the Rode Wireless Pro doesn't have. The Mic Minis have 2 noise cancellation modes, basic and strong. I'm gonna test the basic one against the moderate white noise of my furnace running, and then we'll go for a little drive. I've got the refrigerator over here making a little bit of white noise, as well as a vent right above my head with the heater making some white noise. Right now there's no noise reduction on it at all. I'm gonna flip it on. This is the mic with basic noise reduction applied, and what I want you to listen for is not only whether you can still hear the background noise, but also what does my voice sound like? Does it sound a little bit more electronic or distorted? It's not super uncommon when it comes to noise reduction, so I'm interested to go over to the computer and see whether this actually performs well or whether it's messing with my voice. Okay, the basic noise reduction is not doing much. There's a slight difference there, but it's pretty minor. I was going to test the strong noise reduction in the car, but I'm actually going to pull an audible here and just test the strong noise reduction in the same situation back in my kitchen, because the basic kind of underperformed. The DJI Mic Mini officially just pissed me off. I was just trying to get things set to do the strong noise cancellation test when I find out I have to connect the receiver to my phone with the connection that I don't have, because they charge an extra $20 and you have to buy it separately, and it wasn't clearly stated that none of those features are available unless you buy the extra thing. That I didn't buy. I want to get all the features they said I could do this thing. I have to buy the extra. Good morning. Yesterday I gave myself a little bit of time to cool off. It was a long day. Yeah, the whole thing with the adapter, that was annoying. But I realized it's kind of important for me to do my job and test these things properly. I'm gonna get the adapter, and then we'll get to the tests. I do think that it's an important lesson, though, that you should really read things properly, because I did not read that product page properly, and it resulted in me getting... I wanted to do an in-car scenario because it's very common, but it's also one of the most difficult things for noise reduction to manage, because all the bumps and the grooves in the road are really sporadic. That said, I've downgraded my expectations for the strong noise reduction after viewing the basic noise reduction, so now I'm just kind of hoping it can handle my kitchen noise. This is it with the noise reduction on. Originally, it didn't have it on, and now I'm going to flip it on and off again, just without talking, so you can hear the noise reduction. It's kind of unusual, but it'll give you a good idea. So here it is with it on and off. Now the strong noise reduction, this actually impressed me. It removed all of that white noise from my refrigerator, from the heater, everything. It doesn't make my voice sound a whole lot more distorted or crunchier than the basic noise reduction did. And the mics in general just kind of sound that way. So I have to give the strong noise reduction 2 thumbs up. The basic noise reduction, I don't even know if there's much of a point of using it because it's just not that great. Unlike the Rode Wireless Pro or the DJI Mic 2, this little guy does not have internal recording, nor does it record in 32-bit float, which, in case you don't know, is basically audio that can't be clipped. Clipping is not good. If something's too loud, it loses all detail, and then it just sounds like crap. This is an example of clipped audio. Now, despite not having 32-bit float audio, the Mic Mini doesn't leave you without any protection from clipping. They have an auto-limiting feature, which is okay, it sort of works, but it doesn't result in having very dynamic audio in your videos. Everything's kind of brought up to the same level, whether you're talking loud or quiet. So in the end, what ends up happening is it sounds like your video has been recorded on an iPhone. The better choice, in my opinion, is to turn on the safety track in DJI's Mimo app, which will make it record an extra track set at 6 decibels lower than your main track. So in case your main track gets too high and it gets clipped, you can go in and manually replace it with that backup track. It results in a little bit more work for you, but in my opinion, it ends up having a much better audio sound, or audio quality. Either way, the audio safeties on this mic aren't as good as having 32-bit float, but they're better than nothing. Now let's talk about price. Since this little mic does lack some of those pro features of the DJI Mic 2 or the Rode Wireless Pro, it fittingly comes in at a much lower cost, at about $170. Now you can bump that up to $190 if you're working on an iPhone that's older than 1 year old, because you're gonna need the extra adapter. But all in all, it's not too bad for such a cool piece of tech. What's really interesting to me though is that you can buy only the transmitter and the receiver together for just $90, or even just the transmitter for $60. If all you want is this little guy, you can just link it to the Bluetooth on your phone and you're all set. That makes it a really awesome budget option. Don't forget that you'll lose some of those more advanced features like backup track recording and strong noise reduction if you don't have the receiver to plug into your phone. So who is this thing for? Well, if you're a professional videographer doing interviews or weddings, then I would stick with the Rode Wireless Pro. It's got that 32-bit, you can plug in a lav mic, it's more discreet. However, if you're a content creator and you really don't care that people can see your mic, this is a great way to go, especially for the price. I think it's awesome. Now, if you do think that you need more of those pro features, you should watch this video up over here where I compare the DJI Mic 2 versus the Rode Wireless Pro. That'll give you some insight into which one of those two options, which are more competitively priced, is better.